Howdy, y'all. This is about dwarfism versus average-sized people psychology. I have a lot of pseudoachondroplasia friends, as well as husband and child. This is just my opinion. If you look at the statistics, even within the dwarfism community, of children with pseudoachondroplasia put up for adoption, it's extremely rare. I'm not saying it's not out there, I'm saying it's extremely rare. And it's mainly because you gave birth to a child that looks like an average-sized child. This child is meeting all of the expectations, walking on time, rolling on time, doing everything that you expect from your average-sized child. And then at the age of 2, you say, this is different. When the doctor tells you, ma'am, sir, your child has dwarfism, pseudoachondroplasia, it's scary, and I'm sure you freak out, and I'm sure it's an emotional roller coaster, and you don't know what to do and all that jazz. But you have seen what your child can do. You have seen their ability. You have this love unconditionally for them because you know that they're amazing. Now, if you're having a child, let's say achondroplasia, or let's say diastrophic, or something else that shows up in the womb, this probably doesn't run in your family. You have no idea. You're scared to death, and it may prompt you to freak out, put the child up for adoption, amongst other things. Every parent is going to definitely go through a traumatic experience when they find out that their child has a disability. Don't get me wrong. I know that a lot of pseudos have a lot of medical issues, a lot of joint issues, a lot of back issues, and so this can be traumatizing for you as a parent. But I also know that you already love that child. And I also know that you already believe in that child. And that's why I feel like my personal opinion, but I love talking about this, is it may be easier as an average-sized parent to have a pseudo. Genetics has always been like a really fascinating thing for me, right? And it's much easier to find the FGFR3 gene, aka ACON, than it is to find a variation of comp genes, which is the pseudo gene. So I feel that when you discover that you're having a little person, no matter if it's in the womb or out of the womb, if everyone had that same mentality that no matter what, my child will be okay, then this world will be a better place. Hopefully, I didn't upset anybody. Genetics is fascinating to me. I used to want to be a genetics counselor. For average-sized people that are watching this, pseudoachondroplasia is fascinating. You basically have an average-sized child, and it's not until around the age of 2 that their growth plate starts slowing down. That was when Grayson's legs started bowing. And yes, he's already had a surgery because he has pseudoachondroplasia. I've never in my life seen an ugly pseudo. That's right, y'all are all beautiful. I'm not trying to look for brownie points here. I'm just voicing an opinion. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I'd love to know psychologically what you think in the comments below. I'm not saying it's not out there, I'm saying it's extremely rare. Why do you think there's no pseudos up for adoption?
Either way, if you put it up for adoption right when you give birth or 2 years later, you're a dick. But you're probably right, like 2 years later, like, oh, my kid's gonna be a little person, I'm gonna get rid of them. That's probably way more rare. It's still the same amount of shock. Shock is okay. We're not putting down any parent for feeling shock. It's a new ball game that you're thrust into. It's not even the same sport. It's a different whole thing that you're gonna have to be thrown into. So shock isn't bad, but whether you're like, I am getting rid of this child because of it, then you're kind of I would use a lot of words, but pseudos are awesome. Who would want to get rid of a pseudo?
Even talking to your mom, it was a traumatic experience for her.
Which I didn't know until I was in my 40s. So she was protecting me. She wasn't going to tell me when I was 5 years old, like, I freaked out when I met you. No, she treated me like everyone else and maybe even a little better and probably spoiled me a little more. But that was just her. That was maybe her reaction to it. Plus, I was the youngest, cutest, shortest. Who's not gonna spoil that? She had to go to therapy, like, at some point, and like that's how she wasn't sure how to deal with it, and not because of she was looking at herself gonna be looked down on. No, she was worried about me being looked down on by other people. She didn't know how to prepare herself to take that. Like, in growing up, I still remember if she saw like that I was getting picked on or saw someone saying something rude, she went to bat. She got pissed. I don't know, I'm not going to get into specifics, but she didn't let it slide. It was very personal to her not to have her baby boy, her adorable pseudo baby boy, get like any kind of flack from anybody. So that was what she was most worried about. The reason they put him up for adoption initially is because they don't want that society look down on them. Like, they have a different kid. Oh my God. Like, they can't take it. This isn't like a planned thing for people with pseudo that they have. Like, I'm not going to show them until I'm 2. That just happens. Like, that happens to be the case.
Right.
So yeah, so when it does appear at 2, the parents are like, huh. It's still the same amount of shock, I'm sure.
Totally.
But I never thought of it in those terms of like, that's why they would not want to give it away. I would hope not. I would hope they wouldn't give a kid away when they're 2. But I don't understand the whole giving a kid away. I know people have their reasons. A young mother maybe can't handle their kid. And the best thing is, actually, I'm going to rephrase. I'm going to go back. Sometimes the best thing is for the kid to be given up. They're just not in their place right now to deal with the kid. So sometimes it's the best thing. And we know firsthand, there's a lot of little people, thank God they got put up for adoption because they are now in loving homes. Let me just add one little more thing. If the reason is you were going to give up the kid no matter what, I'm totally with you and I sympathize. If the reason is you're only giving that kid up because it's a dwarf, you kind of suck. Peace!